Well, hi there. My name is Roy Robbins. I'm pastor at Christ Lutheran Church in Chino, and I'm going to be doing a short video today on OCD. And the reason I decided to do this is a couple members of my congregation, a couple ladies, came up to my wife and they had heard me talking about OCD, and they asked her if she would be willing to give them a little more information about it. So Janine did give them some information, but she suggested to me that it might be a good idea to actually do a short video, not only for the congregation, but also for anyone else that might be interested in this malady. So I'm going to take a little time today and talk about obsessive-compulsive disorder. First off, I'd like to say that it's not the fun little malady that's often portrayed in the movies. Minor annoyances such as hand washing and picture frame straightening. You know, those quirky little things, the cute people that you like to joke with about, hey, why don't you come clean my house? No, OCD can put a stranglehold or a chokehold on life and can be misdiagnosed sometimes as things like GAD or generalized anxiety disorder. I wish I had been diagnosed with OCD years ago because I would be much further along in my treatment. Now, the word obsessive, it means to think of very often. Obsessions in OCD are not, I repeat, not always about cleanliness or perfectionism. They can be things such as fear of hurting a loved one, repeated doubts like turning off the stove or checking a lock, fear of death, religious themes, fear of blurting out, even fear of harming a child, and many others. The list is literally endless. And compulsions are what the sufferer does to try to counteract or seek assurance. And these can include rumination, visualizing patterns, counting, even praying. The compulsions are meant to calm the obsessions, but in reality, they give them an even tighter grip. I've had a fear of death since I was a young child. Tied into this fear is something called scrupulosity, which is a big word that means the fear that God does not really like me or is really proud of me. In my heart, I know He loves me, but sometimes I wonder if He's proud of me and likes me. The insidious thing about scrupulosity is that there is no way to 100% get that assurance. I also have a fear of contamination, so I used to avoid handrails at the stadium or doctor's office magazines. My compulsions to counteract include picking at my nails, rumination, prayer, and even a pattern that I draw in my head or on my leg that is 12 strokes. Once again, these compulsions are supposed to lower the anxiety, but in fact, feed the OCD monster. One thing that people rarely know about OCD are some of the obsessions that people struggle with, horrible things that the sufferer feels trapped in, as they cannot even imagine telling someone what they are thinking. The fact is, these people are the least likely to actually do what they think, to act out, but fear of opening up keeps them stuck in a horrible, lonely cycle. Their intrusive thoughts are being beat down constantly by performing compulsions to counteract. For instance, the person who fears they may harm a family member may actually hide all the knives in their house. Their life becomes saturated by these compulsions to not do what their mind tells them. But by hiding the knives, they're actually giving the obsession strength, not countering it. Now the news I wish I'd been given many years ago, and I truly do. There is hope. There is a method of treatment called ERP, Exposure and Response Prevention. Rather than running and hiding from our obsessions, we face them head on with the help of a therapist. For instance, my fear of contamination from railings could be met with an initial exposure to touch the railing at the ballpark without immediately running to wash my hands. The next step may be to walk down the ramp at the ballpark, running my hands over the railing and not running to wash them. I also had an obsession about magazines in a waiting room. I never wanted to touch them. Same principle applied. These two examples I was actually able to get over fairly easily with the exposures. However, more deep-rooted and fear-inducing obsessions can be harder to silence. One major aspect of OCD is the sufferer's inability to sit with uncertainty. We're always seeking assurance from someone or something. My core obsession, fear of death, and scrupulosity are impossible to get reassurance from, so they can be even more insidious. My therapist and I have been working on these, and I've tried exposures such as TV commercials dealing with old age and death, pictures of my name on a gravestone, writing and reading my own eulogy, and others. So far, the noise level from these obsessions has definitely lessened, but I suspect that these will be a lifelong struggle. When met with an intrusive thought like, what if my wife died tonight? I don't try to ignore or deny the thought, but rather I sit in the discomfort briefly, acknowledge that it is a possibility, it may or may not happen, but then try to move on without getting into my head, without ruminating, overthinking, and problem solving. Sometimes it's easy, others times not so much. While I'm actually writing this, a commercial comes on the TV. A young woman is holding a baby in her arms, a new mom, new life. Great, right? But I may begin to lament my older age, and if I let it, it can spin into full-blown rumination or paralysis. Really, in all honesty, a lot of it boils down to mindfulness, staying in the moment. And when the thoughts come, to acknowledge them and move on. Once again, sometimes easy, well, you know. Another key concept, and boy do I wish I had learned this at an early age, thoughts are not always reality. Thoughts are not always reality. In fact, they rarely are. Just because I think it doesn't mean I'll do it, agree with it, or even have any clue where a thought like that came from. I wish I could say that my OCD could be cured with prayer and medication and therapy and diligence, but that is just not the case. I will always need to be diligent, calling on the Lord, consistent with medication, continue ERP, and work with my therapist. I cannot completely beat it, but I can turn down the volume to a comfortable hum. Well, I hope this short video on OCD has been informative for you. I really do. And for my congregation, you're always more than welcome to talk to me about it in person. And for the rest of you that have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those if you can make comments below. Thank you very much for watching.